Hello, and welcome to this edition of Finance and Technology Insights with Eric and Brian. I'm Brian Williams from Northshire Consulting. He's Eric Buhrendorf. So what's happening, Eric?
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Good, good. This is one of those semi-holiday weeks where we're recording on a Tuesday. Sometimes we bump to Wednesday, but I guess we're not really counting yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday, so far this week's working out. No interruptions to the work week. How about you?
So did you have the kids home yesterday?
The kids, let's see, the kids were home yesterday, yes. It's relatively uneventful. What about you? How's Luke doing?
Good, good. They were away for a little bit. They were down in Florida, so they came back yesterday.
Great.
Flew into New Haven, which was a different experience for them. I had done that a while ago, but so I picked them up there yesterday, and they just kind of rested. We did some stuff outside. We harvested some potatoes from our garden, which is always excited for a 4-year-old to go digging around.
Oh, yeah.
And
You say potatoes or tomatoes?
potatoes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we dug some of those up. So they're looking good. We had one section that was ready a little bit before others. I think we'll still have some more to pull up, but
So
that's a fun experience.
how was the trip down? How was the trip down to New Haven for the pickup?
Oh, it was fine. I mean, that airport's like super easy. It's like, I don't know. I mean, obviously you probably know it a little bit, but yeah, I mean,
Not from the terminal side.
Yeah.
Right. I've flown into there, but I haven't like driven in there as a arrival or departure.
Yeah, it's kind of like something out of a movie or something out of Wings. Like you pull up and they're just standing outside. So they were supposed to arrive at 11:40. So I'm thinking, well, by the time they get their bag and stuff, it'll probably be noon. So I left here about 11:25, and they landed early. And so she texted me when they landed, and I said, all right, well, I'm on my way. And it was like 3 minutes later. Okay, we're waiting outside. There's nowhere to sit inside. Okay. So I just kind of pulled up and they were standing there and that was it. But
Oh, wow. So that was Disney, a trip to Disney?
yeah. So they were able to go direct from Orlando to New Haven, which was pretty nice. So
Yeah, that is nice. What did they what parks? It's all about the parks. What parks did they do?
yeah, so good question. I didn't follow it too closely. I know she likes to do like the park hopper, so I know they probably went everywhere.
Okay.
The big thing was the Halloween stuff and the Halloween
Oh, right.
parade and the trick or treating. So he's going to be Spider-Man for this Halloween. So he took his costume down with him. So all the kids in costumes and stuff. So they had
Very
a good
cool.
time. Yeah.
Did you you're my age, so I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember the McDonald's round totes that they would have as a Happy Meal during the Halloween season?
Yes, we still have one. My mother kept ours, and then
really,
and Luke actually has used it.
That is so awesome. So they're bringing it back. I saw a news article that they're bringing them back. So
that along with the adult Happy Meal as well.
The adult Happy Meal. Did you get your adult Happy Meal?
I did not.
Me either. I'm not a big McDonald's eater, but I thought it was, the nostalgia runs deep,
Yeah. No, it looked interesting, but I guess, I don't know. I read a couple things and they were like breaking down what was actually in it. And if you bought it separately, so you end up, I don't know, paying like $1.50 just for the container, which is not much there. And
what's your happiness worth though,
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But yeah,
a little housekeeping. So I don't know if we let the audience know. Let me do a little screen share of let me do a little housekeeping here. I like to do, how I like to do this. So for the viewers out there, because we did gain a new subscriber, we are oh dang it, I didn't want to do that. Hang on, that was a news article I wanted to talk about. This is us here. So for the viewers out there, we are Finance and Technology Insights. We have a YouTube channel. Go to this URL here. Brian and I were talking before we were recording that we actually had a pretty, a decent spike of views on last week's video, 25 views, which, when you're getting a handful of views a week, a 5x increase is pretty cool. and we did get a new subscriber. So make sure you check us out give us a subscribe if you're interested. Let me talk about Brian's Northshire Consulting website, northshireconsulting.com. All your 401k and finance consulting happening there, right?
That's right.
And here's my site here. I'm evernetco.com. We're an IT company that services businesses all over the country. And we do have a Facebook presence. Actually, we're on pretty much most of the social medias, but I don't think we maintain them at this point, but they are earmarked. So I just wanted to do a little housekeeping there.
Yeah, you can find us if you are listening to the podcast and you want to check us out and see what we look like. You can
Oh yeah,
on YouTube and check us out. And if you're a YouTube person, just remember we are on your device as a podcast on all the platforms. So
that's right. That's right. I don't even pull that up. Have you looked at any stats on our podcast?
I have not in a little while.
Is that Anchor hosted? Or did you use a different platform recently?
Nope, we're on Anchor. So Anchor is now owned by Spotify, and they recently allowed us to upload the video there. So when you do that, it strips out the audio as a podcast and then puts the video on the Spotify platform, which is nice. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't mean to derail us. I just
no, that's okay. Just wherever you want to.
I don't
Do
know
you
if
find time to listen to many podcasts during the week? Are you a podcast listener?
I am a I am a seasoned podcast listener. I've been listening to podcasts, I would say, since day one, actually. I used to listen for years to this technology podcaster. His name's Leo Laporte, and he was kind of an early days implementer. He used to be a host and a kind of, I don't want to say comedian. What's the word I'm looking for? Character, an identity. I don't know. He was on this tech TV channel that was, I don't know if you ever saw that. It was on like premium digital cable in the late 90s and early aughts. And it's when niche TV was kind of coming out, and he was running a few shows there, and then Tech TV sold to G4 TV, which was like all about video games and other things. It just kind of went in a different, it kind of it was early days of like Bro TV or whatever. So he kind of left and started an internet studio, an internet network, I guess. So I don't know if it helps. I think it's twit.tv, is it? Here we go. So I'll just show you on the screen here. So This Week in Tech this is a whole network that he built starting in 2005, I think, 2003. And it's all things tech, and they cover Mac and Windows and iOS and Android and Google and general tech and all that sort of thing. So he was podcasting, I think, as early as 2003, 2005, something like that. So I've been listening to that for years. What about you?
So it's mostly business related for you. You're not a big true crime guy or anything like that.
No, I'm like a special interest connoisseur. I love to soak up kind of special interests. So technology, business. I think I used to subscribe to Rogan and a couple other thought people, but I don't listen to those daily. You know what it is? I actually listen to podcasts when I go to sleep.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of a sleep aid for me. Instead of a TV in the background or a light or white noise or, I had a roommate that slept with a fan, like intentionally in his room just to have the fan noise.
Yeah.
My thing is podcasts. I put on my ear pods and I just go to sleep to the droning of podcast voice.
Right. You do. So you do put the AirPods. You do one or two?
This is probably TMI, but I used to listen to podcasts when you had to like download them to an iPod, right? and then I had the white headphones, and then I would kind of like put it next to me, and then the white headphone and the cord, right? And then I can't tell you how many times I woke up in the middle of the night with this cord wrapped around my head or something. It was like, oh, what we do for our content. But no, when the AirPods came out, I started using the pods, and then I'll do like one pod. And I don't know if you know that if you have AirPods or not, but if you turn an AirPod, if you put an AirPod on, normally it like hangs down like this. You see them like this.
Yeah.
But if you turn it upside down, it fits, the opposite headphone fits in your ear. So like I would use one, and then if I'm still awake and the AirPod has died, I'll put that, and then I'll grab the other one. I'll turn it upside down, and I'll put it in the same ear. Again, TMI, but that's my sleeping habits, everybody.
No, that's good information. Just always curious what else they listen to, right? I mean, because ultimately that's going to influence their style and what they like to talk about and what works for them and
Yeah, I mean,
blend.
I don't have a lot of time in the car anymore. When I was
Mhm.
traveling to DC to see my son, I'd listen to some podcasts, and my girls are pretty agreeable. Well, they were when they were babies, but now they want to. It's all Dua Lipa and Taylor Swift now in the car. So
Right.
Dad's podcasts aren't getting any airtime in the car. So what about you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll start there. When my son's in the car, it's usually relatively short drive. So we're usually calling one of the grandmothers or something. So we're on the phone a lot. So if I take him in the morning, we usually call my mother. If Lauren's taking him in the morning, it's like a 15-minute drive or something. So it's a good check-in time. Same thing on pickup. So don't usually listen to podcasts with him. If I'm picking him up a little bit later around that 4 o'clock hour, I'll usually just have CNBC or Bloomberg on and do the market close and wrap up and that kind of stuff. But and I'm not in the car as much, although I'm starting to get back in and get back on the road a little bit. So it's funny that you plan out these trips and you're like, all right, I'm going to New Haven. I know that's maybe 25-minute drive. What podcasts fit in there? Am I going to do 2 12s? Am I going to do a 10 and a 15? So you kind of get used to, I don't really want to start an hour one because I'm only going to get halfway through. So I had one that I was listening to yesterday morning, and he's traditionally been an hour, and he just decided to split those up and make those half an hour episodes. So I
For
listened to the
better or
first
for
half.
worse?
Yeah, I listened to the first half in the morning, and then although the first half was like 40 minutes, and then the next one was closer to 30. So it's like, all right, I'll save the 30-minute one for when I go to New Haven. So that worked out pretty well. Most of my stuff, there's a couple like sports ones that I listen to if I like the subject or the guest. I'll be into that. And then most of it's like super nerdy, like industry specific. There's
Podcasts are really like the penultimate not dirty pleasure, the guilty pleasure,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Because
they
you can
really
like,
are because it's people are still doing it now sort of out of passion, so it's not necessarily a big money maker
I mean,
or
case in
doing
point, look
whatever.
at
So
us.
yeah, right, right. So
We're not getting we this is not we're not earning a penny on this. If anything, it's costing us serious productivity. But
backlinks, it's right, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, so I mean, one of the ones I listened to, it's called Fiduciary U, is in like university, and it's like super specific to like. And this week's episode was about like small retirement plan advisors. And it's such like a niche audience. I'd be curious. I should kind of tease him and be like, how many people do you have listening to this stuff? But it's one of those where I know the guy doing it and I know the guest and I listened. I go on LinkedIn and I message you both. I'm like, hey, Josh, good job on the show today. Good. Hey, Chad, good to see you on with Josh. It's just funny. It's such a
yeah,
niche industry.
small podcasters are accessible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's probably if there's a golden age of something, this is probably the golden age of podcasting because you've got a lot of new entrants. You've got the traditional people, and at some point it'll probably fall off, and you think it's going to fall off, but the numbers just keep growing of the number of podcasts and the number of listeners and all that stuff. So, but no, I thought
Yeah,
that would be curious to dip into your listening habits.
yeah.
See what you
I
listen
went to
to.
I used the Apple Podcast app on my phone, so I pulled up the Apple page to see if my subscriptions would be kind of presentable on the web page, so I could really share too much information, but apparently I can't. So I was going to rattle off some of the shows I'm subscribed to. I suppose I could bring up the app on my mobile here. I don't know if you're willing to share, but
Yeah, sure. I think it's interesting.
let's
Go down
see
that path.
the shows I like. So I I don't want like the qualifier I'm about to say, right? I don't want this to be indicative of my character, because I'm subscribed to a lot more than I probably listen to,
Right.
right? Like I the first one at the top is Lex Friedman. Have you ever heard of Lex Friedman? No.
No.
Um, he's this Eastern European gentleman who wears a black suit. I can't even, too bad they don't even let you search. I'm on the podcast site. Can't even search the shows and anything here. But anyways, he's like the driest character you can imagine, but he gets like really good personalities on his show. And he's a deep thinker, I think. So um so that's interesting. Uh Bill Burr, do you know who Bill Burr is?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Bill Burr has a podcast where I think it's an outlet for him to just say the F word as many times as he can in an hour. I don't know, but every once in a while he's funny, and he gets his wife on there, which is funny to listen to them. The Adam Carolla Show, again, he gets some good people on there. Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, and Inside EVs, which is a podcast all four individual podcasters and YouTube creators get together, and they do a weekly on the state of electric vehicles. And then do you know who Joe Buck is? You must know who Joe
Sure.
Buck is, right?
Yep.
So Joe Buck does a podcast with Oliver Hudson, and if you don't know who Oliver Hudson is, he's the son of Goldie Hawn and Russell Crowe. I think actually not Russell Crowe, Kurt Russell. Actually, I think Kurt Russell's his stepdad technically, but is basically raised him. But the two of those guys get going, and to hear Joe Buck like really pulls the curtain back on his character. Like it's, have you heard
That's
it?
interesting. No, I haven't.
Oh
No.
my God, it's really funny. Like I grew up watching Joe Buck call games, you know what I
Sure.
mean? And him and Troy Aikman in the past few years calling the football games, and listening to Joe Buck drop F-bombs and talk about his 3-year-old twin boys with his wife is hilarious. So, anyways, a couple others, Smartless, which is Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett. They have a pretty funny, it's Hollywood. They interview a bunch of Hollywood types and things. So, what about you?
Yeah, that's pretty much similar to my lineup. Smartless is on there. I like it's actually not that good, but I listened to Craig Kilborn. I don't know if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Lost my camera for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Craig Kilborn used to be a big Sports Center guy, and then he went to Daily Show, and then he went to CBS on the late night, and then he kind of just disappeared. So he had a bit of an Instagram following, and he was doing some stuff there, kind of in his corny character. But now he's got a podcast. So again, that's one of those that, like, depending on the guest, I'll listen to.
Right.
If it's somebody I know, or if I feel like it's somebody I should know that's maybe kind of interesting, then I'll check it out. But yeah, it's mostly pretty nerdy industry stuff. There's a few that I listen to that are like the daily kind of updates, or like news things, or
Right.
some of those kind of like bite things that are pretty good. But
there's this one called that I really like called Stuff You Should Know. You ever heard about?
Yes.
Ever heard of that?
Yep.
That one's really fun. And Freakonomics Radio. You listen to that one?
Of course. Yep. Yep.
So
yeah,
those are fun. I'm surprised. I was really hoping to bring up some shows, but Anchor, you can't search shows on the Anchor.fm page, and you can't on Apple Podcasts for whatever reason. It's so bizarre to me. You'd think you'd be able to search right here, pull them up,
Yeah.
and subscribe and whatever. So yeah, podcasts are fun. So what else is going on? You want to talk about your business?
Yeah, sure, we can go down that road.
Let-
Why
Let's
not?
let's see what's going on. And what's
Yeah,
going on in
last week
Northshire?
was quarter end, all that kind of stuff. So um, now we're scheduling our fourth quarter meetings with people. So our existing clients, we've touched base with them. A lot of market turmoil, a lot of it's a weird year in that both stocks and bonds are down. So people are concerned about that. So we have those conversations. Employee meetings at employers. Have one Friday. Have some other ones coming up. So we try to do each quarter is get the communications a little bit more personal. You can blast out a newsletter to everybody, and most of your participants will read that. But this time we're going to try to get a little bit more personal and do um, some basic recommendations or things they could look into based on their age and their account balance and that kind of stuff. So that's going to be a little bit more fun. So just kind of every quarter, just keep ratcheting it up. And from a technology standpoint, there's just so much tech right now that's being blasted into the 401k environment, which is really interesting because it's advisors approach it from a few different ways. And there's a phrase that's like two plan Tonys. Like there's these people out there who have like a couple 401k plans that they run, and they don't really, maybe they had a relationship with the business owner or whatever, and it's not really a significant part of their business. So they're not willing to invest in the technology to support those plans. So ultimately it's the participant that kind of is neglected there because there's not some good tech around it. And then you have some advisors who are significantly in that business. So but you have a lot more of the two plan Tony. So if you're building software, who is your audience? You could really build high level software for a very small niche group of people, or you could build it for kind of a broader audience. So I feel like all these technology platforms are trying to figure out who their audience is and what the right price point is. So it's just kind of fascinating watching these companies pop up. And I think I texted you one, it might have been a couple of weeks ago, that I was in this god awful demo that was like an hour long, and it was just so bad. And it was like, man, I wish I could just like almost do a Manning cast with you on this one, like watch it as we were like like you and I off to the side, like kind of
I would totally do that if you
yeah,
ever
it would
wanted to.
actually
Just
be kind of fun to do. But it was just so this guy, he had good credentials and he's built this system. And but he had two guys on who were European, who were programmers who did not have a great grasp of the language. Now, obviously, English is, you know, at least a second language for them, so I'm sure much better than whatever language they speak. I'm better at, so don't want to like poke at that, but it was very clear from the software that whoever wrote it was not a native English speaker. And there were just certain things that were like, yeah, that's not right. That's not right. And if you don't trust the stuff on the demo, you're not going to buy the software because you might not trust the stuff underneath,
yeah,
which may or may not be fair. I mean, they probably, numbers are numbers. Language is a little bit different. So they're probably, their data accuracy is much more better than their verbal accuracy. But still, it was a very awkward demo.
cringe, huh?
It's a new program, so again, you got to be fair. You got to let them kind of fail forward and stuff. And I gave him some suggestions kind of afterwards because I think I might have been one of the first demos that they did. I hope I was one of the first demos they did. If they're 100 in and they're at that level, but yeah, I would definitely limit all software demos to half an hour. But anyway, kind of went on a rant about that. But yeah, it's an interesting time from software perspective and all this stuff coming together. And who wants to be part of the aggregation system? So it's still a big issue in our business, like who wants to give up their data to be part of the ecosystem, and who wants to hold it close to their vest because it's their data, they own it. So are they going to play nice and cooperate to make things better for everybody, or do they see their data as a competitive advantage? And so that's a big issue too. So that's what we're working through for kind of the first week of the quarter and getting ready for some in-person meetings, which is exciting. We've got the state mandate coming end of the month for businesses with 25 or more employees. I actually thought that would be a little bit more talked about, and it hasn't been. So I'm kind of curious to
Even
see.
even the state doesn't want to talk about it.
Well, so so they're supposed to have uh, these board meetings the third Friday of every quarter, and they've canceled or postponed the majority of the last five. And I don't think they've had a. I got to pull this up here because I don't want to give accurate stuff here. So share a tab here. So these are the regularly scheduled board meetings. So June was canceled, July was postponed for a week, and then August was canceled, September was canceled. So it's not a very good track record and minutes. I don't know if it's intentionally sloppy because maybe they don't want to talk about it, or I don't know, but it's just not a particularly good look. And
And this
for
is
people,
this is a state
yeah,
board.
yeah. So this is the Connecticut Retirement Security Authority. So this is under the
Oh, geez. So,
OSC, which is the Office of the State Comptroller. And
I mean, this sounds like an important body, and and it's what, just dying on the vine or just sputtering at
well,
because
so they're moving forward with the program, but they're not giving the public the updates they deserve or should have from a transparency perspective. So that part's a little bit concerning to
are you gonna
me. So
angry tweet them or throw some shade and be like, "What's going on?"
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, so I did at one point somewhere in here, I said, just simply asking the question, can business owners be confident in signing up for a program like this if the state's not communicating? Is this kind of a harbinger of things to come and that kind of stuff? Because other states have done things a little bit differently, and I think a little bit better as far as transparency standpoint. Because these
Mhm.
board meetings, they're open to the public and whatever. So when you don't have these board meetings and they're not open to the public, it makes people say, well, wait a minute, what's going on there?
Right.
So there's some concern around that. I don't feel like they've promoted it maybe as much as they should have or got the message out there. It's like, if you've got this deadline coming, you almost have to post every day. I mean, just kind of on different platforms and using the hashtags and all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
they haven't done that. So anyways,
Mm,
that is
that's telling, I wonder.
kind of where we're at with that. But let's
You know,
hop on over to EVERNET and see what's happening there.
so talk about cringeworthy demos. I started a YouTube channel for my company. I haven't posted in a while. We have a couple in the can, but I haven't posted just because we've been doing so much other stuff on the marketing team, kind of building out some new tools and things I've shared with you before. But I recorded a demo, I think 2 weeks ago, and it was, I won't say obviously who it was, but I don't, you know, I don't want to throw shade at everybody who's trying to get things together, but it's a it's a not a I would say they're past startup phase, so there's some maturity to the company, and the way that I promote the YouTube channel for the Evernet reviews is I say, like, hey, like, it's an open forum for you to kind of present your wares, and I'll ask some compelling questions to try to make it more relevant and interesting and engaging. And this one vendor signed up and we were doing a recording. They must have given me like the entry level demo reviewer or something, but um, the individual didn't know their own product, and they yeah and just the conversation was really labored,
Mm.
and I tried really hard to kind of sit back and then kind of engage and kind of steer a little bit. It was brutal. So I don't know. I think it would be a disservice to the company to post it. So I'm not gonna post it, and hope that maybe they come around on the next cycle and make that. The other thing too is I have a number of companies out there that don't want to do recorded demos and free press for their products, which is it's kind of a head scratcher for me. I mean, I guess I guess you do meet a certain market penetration that you don't need a small YouTuber talking about it. But when you look at a company like Tesla that spends no money on marketing, and they are completely fueled by social marketing, uh, vis-a-vis YouTubers and social marketing and things like that. It seems like it's like an old school miss. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like, why wouldn't you want to peddle, get free promotion like that? So anyways, and it's funny you say that we could do that Manning style, what do they
Yeah.
call, what is that
It's
format
called
called?
Manning Cast, yeah.
Manning cast, right? Where they're like, we're the viewers are watching them watch something, right?
Right, right.
So I was
The
thinking,
Mystery Science Theater model.
yeah, yeah. I was thinking about doing that, and I may still during some demos for those particular vendors, because they do have recurring webinars and things like that. So I was thinking about signing up for that and then trying to record myself, watch the recording. I just
Mhm.
don't know if I want to go there yet. So other than that, yeah, business is good. You and I haven't been social much, and that's my fault because I've been underwater. Not underwater. I've been. Our marketing is really starting to kind of hit. It's starting to yield, and I've been really busy onboarding. I've been onboarding several new clients per week, probably for the last 4 weeks, and that's a lot for us. So,
Yeah.
and that's only going to continue, I presume. So, just kind of gearing up and just making sure we're processing all that as it comes in.
Is there anything that's different for you, like, at the year end or going into the new year, or is it just kind of a fake date or fake benchmark?
No, so I guess something like that for us would be in the summer. So what
Mhm.
we do, my accounts team does, is in the summer we review every customer account, and we make sure that the financials are healthy and the relationship is healthy, and we have a customer quality survey system that goes out every time we provide service. It asks how we're doing. So we just review the health, the general health of the account, and then we uh, kind of configure the contracts for the next year, and then so that big lift happens over the summer, and then it kind of creates a consistent kind of administrative workload for the accounts team for while they just kind of get the next billing set up, and I send out a notice of any relevant changes to the billing or the contract and things like that for the first. Other than that, it's not really nothing major like that. We always do get a major influx of business in the November time frame,
Okay.
because businesses are always trying to spend off any excess income. So it's very, a lot of projects come out and get booked in November, December, maybe
Mm.
starting, maybe even as early as like starting in like the last week of October. So we get a little balloon there. So that's pretty much it.
When you do your client survey satisfaction stuff, what's the biggest thing you learned this summer? Or something that you were like, "Oh, I didn't realize clients thought that. How can I change that?"
That's a really good question. It's a really good question.
Or maybe
I
there
have to,
wasn't anything.
huh?
Maybe there wasn't anything. Maybe you
No,
know it all and you're perfect.
no. You know what? It's the way we send the ticket out or the survey is, it's like a 4 point question. Were we on time? Were we knowledgeable? Were we professional? Were you satisfied? And then it's, do you need a call back from the resource, their manager, or the owner, which is me. Um, and I have to say, like, for whatever reason, they're all they all tend to be really positive. It's if it's I don't even think this year I've seen somebody say I need another call. Maybe one client said I need a call back from the tech, but I think that was just maybe a communication thing. So not to be boring, but I don't think I've garnered any new information from those feedbacks. But yeah, that's an uninteresting response. I'm sorry, but it's a good thing that those quality feedbacks I implemented maybe 5 years ago, and I wish I did it on day one. I was so afraid when I started my business to communicate with my clients, and I wish I just wasn't. And that quality feedback tool is such a great touch point. It's such a positive touch point, even if the experience is less than wonderful for them. It just lets them know like that you're listening, you care. I respond to every single respondent. So when we get a response to it, it goes to the entire company, so everybody sees everybody's quality. It's just kind of the culture that we curate. Yeah, I respond to every one of them. Thank you for the feedback. It's really important for me, and it's really important for us. The other thing I started adding, I think was it this year, was two other questions. Do you have any kudos or kind words about your service? And then the second question after that is, can we use this in our marketing? And then we give them three options: yes, no, and yes, but don't use my name. And then the last one we ask is, can we use you as a business reference? And that's yes or no. And then we track the business reference in our business software as a custom field, a yes, no. And then in the event that when a new client or prospective client says, hey, do you have any business references? I can actually run a report and get a long list of references with that. And I said, yeah, here you go. And that's just been learning these over time, learning how to kind of build these systems and implement these systems is really, helped.
Oh, that's really good. I was going to ask you something else about the feedback that you get. So when you take on a new client and you ask them why they're leaving their old firm, what does that taught you?
That's a good question too. It's usually the same. So when we take new business from a previous IT vendor, it is because of some loss of confidence, and that's usually the response is too slow, too negative, or they've just recently been compromised by some sort of security event. So that's the reality, and it's impossible to 100% protect against security risks. Although I have to say that our clients, if you follow all the industry best practices, you really can mitigate. It's not all, but it's, how uptime is tracked in like 99.9999. If you follow industry best practices, you really can go really far between security incidences. Even some of our clients don't follow all of the best practices, and that's because of their budget constraints, or their choice to buy into the thing that we're telling them. Although I'd say most of our clients really do kind of have that trust relationship in us, so when we tell them something, they generally believe it. But again, like people's capacity to adopt tools and methodologies for cybersecurity and things like that, it does vary. So when a client comes to us and says, we just had a ransomware attack, or we just been hacked or something, the first thing I say to them is, it's not, I'm like the worst salesperson. I tell them, we can't prevent them all. I mean, are you sure that your IT company was negligent or somehow not capable of leading you? Because I don't want somebody with false expectation or bad expectations or unreasonable expectations, coming to us and then holding us to those unreasonable expectations too. You know what I mean? Because that's just not going to be a good fit. And then I look at things like, how long were you with the previous company? If you were with them for the last year or 6 months, then that's not going to be a good fit for us, because that's not the best way to get the support you need to run your business. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yeah, and it rings. There's so much crossover in our business or similar conversations. Like if a
Yeah, I want to
client
ask you the
comes,
same question, by the way.
Well, so yeah, I can. But I just want to piggyback what you said there about like not being a salesman and when clients come to you like that. So if a client comes to me and they're like, "Yeah, I want to change advisors because I'm losing money or the market's down," well, I have to dig a little bit deeper on that because if they're gonna leave their advisor for something that's out of the advisor's control, then ultimately they may end up leaving me for the same. So that's when you have to. Are they not listening to you? Did they not? Listen to your risk tolerance needs, or was the conversation uncomfortable? And that's one I actually had last week that I could share. So this is an older couple in their mid 70s, and their advisor did not listen to their calls to get a little bit more conservative, and it looked like kind of just shoved them in their model. A lot of the bigger shops, that's what they'll do, is they'll just take these portfolios and put them in a box and not really work with the clients or whatever. But another one that was really bad, same situation. Um, Husband is going through dementia, and the clients felt that when they went in to talk to the advisor, the advisor only talked to the wife as if to say, he doesn't matter. He's he's not understanding what we're saying, or he's not really the client, or that, which just blows my mind that that kind of stuff can still happen. And for people who've had family members that go through that, to be kind of dismissed,
Yeah.
and I think that's
Yeah.
part of it's part of keeping people's brains active. So I go over to their house and I had printed out 3 copies of just a simple outline, and then I did like a one-page. I'm all about like getting it on one page, and one-page summary, speaking in plain English, that kind of stuff. And she kind of walked me out to the car. She said, "Oh, well, thank you for bringing 3 copies." I said, "Well, of course, what else would I would do?" She goes, "Well, if it was our old advisor, he would have given me a copy," meaning the wife, "and just ignored the fact that my husband was even in the room," which is crazy to think that somebody
Yeah,
would do that. But
yeah,
anyways,
that's just insensitive person people skills. That's awful.
yeah, that's really bad. But yeah, same sort of thing. I mean, you want to know why a client is coming to you, because it's ultimately why they might leave you, right? So
Yeah, for sure.
same sort
And
of conversations. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
I mean, go ahead.
the feedback I get from clients, and I've never done a formal survey or anything like that. I probably should. Maybe I'll do something around the
Oh, you
beginning of the
haven't?
year. What?
You've never done a client survey?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Oh, you should definitely consider doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably
I mean,
should.
you don't really have service tickets, right? I mean, but I don't know. Like, I would definitely recommend you do a feedback survey at some interval. I think annual would probably be too few. I would say maybe like biannual or maybe quarterly or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably should at least because I feel like I mean, obviously as a sole proprietor, their only issues with service are going to be with me anyway. So I'm probably going to, but there might be the unspoken stuff, or mostly the stuff so what I will do sometimes is, if I'm going into a business doing a meeting, I'll send them a pre-survey, like, what would you like to see? What would you,
Sure.
from the last meeting, what did you get out of it? That kind of stuff. Um, and it's usually the same, like, they feel like you spoke over their head or something that wasn't,
Right.
which our whole industry is guilty of. I think I'm
Right.
probably a little bit better than others, but sometimes there's certain terminology you just can't get around, because those are the words you have to use. So you try
Right.
to do the best you can, but that's
Right. Right.
and some of the bigger businesses, what we've tried to do over time is, instead of just separating, like, staff that's out on the road versus staff that's in house, okay, maybe non-participants from participants, just be like, all right, now that we know these employees, let's kind of group them together, maybe by investment experience, or by age, or let's do something that's a little bit more appropriate so we can speak to the room rather than speak broadly. And just, because historically the model is like, let's do a meeting in the morning and a meeting in the afternoon, and then you're just kind of getting uh, a hodgepodge of whoever shows up. So, but if we can start to dial in, and the employers who are a little bit more comfortable with that, and the employers that make it mandatory are really the good ones. Like, all right, Brian's coming in on Friday. You either have to meet with him at this time or this time. So, no, I haven't done a company wide, just kind of a general survey yet.
You might find that useful. I don't want to oversell it, but it was definitely something that I wish I did years before.
Yeah.
Because it's also, like I said, once a few extra light bulbs went off, and I was like, oh wow, I can solicit, like I said, the business reference and marketing, and then and then showing them that there's the buy-in to the response. It was transformative.
Yeah. No, that's really good.
One other thing that was really exciting is, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's kind of inside baseball, but one thing that differentiates me from my competition, so to speak, is my onboarding process for a new client is incredibly lean and simple and really easy to understand. My competition, when they get a prospective client or an interested client, um, it's very often is this really lengthy and just cumbersome sales process. It's really a sales process. They go in and they do an audit and they scan all of their computers and do all of this stuff. And there's some validity and relevance to doing that sort of audit. But we just do that we don't do that for free. We do that for existing clients. So if a prospective client wanted us to do an audit, they would first have to be a client. Then we would do an audit. And our engagement from a client standpoint is so low that it's not cumbersome to first be a customer. Then we do an audit and we give them information they can then use to go ahead and shop another vendor or something like that. So that our onboarding process I've converted into a web driven wizard on our website.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're ready to become a customer, you get off. You're finishing up a phone call with me that I've somehow sold sold confidence in you. You're starting to believe in me. You're feeling good about what I've said over our discovery call. And when we're about to get a new client, the question always is at the end of the call the same, which is, okay, how do we get started? And so I built our contracting and onboarding process into a web wizard, which is accessible right on our website. And that is just a simple survey form. What's your company name? What's your company address? Who's the billing contact? Who's the primary contact? And then some agreements and disclosures, and then yes, and then it's done, right? When they click submit, I've been able to automate that, so they then push all that information into my business software and then set off a series of automations and things for my accounts team to configure and get the account ready. Part of that process, and again, I won't get too technical, but part of that process did rely on the technical team to do some configuration and stuff. But and it's really a 30 to 45 minute total time. But because of this requirement of waiting for the technical team to do some onboarding work, it can kind of be like spread out between 2 hours and like 2 days, depending on when rarely 2 days, 2 hours to a day, maybe, depending on the technical team's availability. And just through my pursuits of automation and streamlining and business efficiency, I've uncovered a way to automate the technical piece. So the power is really one person will now be able to fully onboard a new client in our company, and rather than and have it kind of be done in a kind of 20 to 30-minute period rather than this kind of start-stop process. So when the call comes in or the discovery call gets booked and I see it on the calendar and we see it come in, we now can take a client in under 30 minutes, which is pretty powerful.
Yeah, that is really good. And they can obviously book that initial consultation right on your website, which is good.
Yep. So that's me. That's you. Normally, in this point in the show, we talk about what's in the news. Do you have anything that you saw in the news?
Nothing.
Might have been
Well,
a quiet
yeah.
news
I
cycle.
mean, there's a million things, but was there something you wanted to touch on first?
Uh Not really. It's been a quiet news cycle. I think just this morning or last night, Russian hackers are targeting U.S. airport websites again. But I didn't even report on it because it's not affecting travel, and it's more or less what they call internet graffiti. So,
Hmm.
and I think it's actually the problem has been resolved since then. So, and then there was another autonomous aviation thing, but I feel like I've beat that horse dead at this point. So pretty
Yeah,
quiet.
there was some news this morning that that Google isn't going to allow Coinbase to take cloud payments.
Is not or
Google
is?
is going to, they've selected Coinbase. Um, but what's interesting about that is, along with that deal, is Coinbase is moving a lot of their back end data from AWS, the Amazon Web Services, to Google, which is kind of interesting. So it's not necessarily a conflict of interest or anything like that, but it shows how powerful that data is, and how you can leverage one part of the business to garner another part of the business. And I always find that fascinating, because most people, obviously, from Amazon standpoint, think of the shopping and the next day and all that, but it's, from a stock perspective, you're almost getting that for free. When you buy Amazon stock, you're basically buying the whole Amazon Web Services and the whole infrastructure that they've built on that, and how powerful it is. So when you get into these situations where you've got these other companies who run data platforms, and it becomes, well, we'll use you for this, but you've got to move your data and all that kind of stuff. I think that's fascinating to see how that sort of plays out, and if there's any sort of regulatory pushback down the road from some of that.
Yeah. So Google is choosing Coinbase to take cloud payments, and will use its custody tool. I guess I don't. Am I? What's custody tool?
So just where the coins are held. So with the crypto, you can have your own wallets, and do
Right.
that
Okay.
kind of stuff, or you can put
Okay.
it on a
That's what I thought
platform.
it was, but I've
Yeah.
never heard it referred to as that.
Yeah.
Google will start allowing a subset of customers to pay for cloud services with digital currencies early next year. In addition, Google said it would explore using Coinbase Prime, a service for storing and trading cryptocurrencies. Coinbase will move some of its applications to Google Cloud from Amazon Web Services. So, what is that? A little quid pro quo there? Is that what you're
I'm not
saying?
no, I'm not saying that it is, but it just shows how businesses can leverage one piece. And later down in the article, it says the cloud business helps Google diversify parent Apple away from advertising. Cloud business represents 9% of their revenue, up from 6% just 3 years ago. So this appears to be, I mean, the cloud stuff better than I do, but it's very sticky business. It's hard to unwind. It's
Right.
so Google is leveraging their power to say, okay, we'll use you for this feature and this benefit, but you've got to move your stuff to our cloud. So um, more to come on that. I think that'll be interesting later on. I learned that uh, Amazon didn't was originally on Oracle, using Oracle databases, and they didn't actually, Amazon themselves, their Amazon.com platform, didn't fully move everything to their own AWS platform until like 2012 or something
Years
like that.
later, right. Yeah,
Like
I
they
mean,
took it.
migrating infrastructure is a time-consuming process. So if
Mhm.
you're building a platform and using a legacy platform, yeah, that's just how IT works.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
It does.
yeah, this is interesting. This is really interesting. Another vote of confidence for cryptocurrency as a mode of currency.
Mhm.
Over time, Google will allow more customers to make payments with cryptocurrency. Coinbase Commerce supports 10 currencies, including Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Dogecoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Of course, in the next sentence, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Ethereum prices have all declined over 60% in the past year.
Yeah.
So that is really, really interesting. Google is exploring how it can use Coinbase Prime, a service that securely stores organization cryptocurrencies. So Google Google signals that it believes in crypto. That's a pretty compelling article.
Or are they just signaling that they believe in crypto to get Coinbase to move their data to their servers?
I mean, you think that there's enough? I mean,
No, I don't think there's
I
enough
don't think
revenue
so.
there to move the needle for Google, but
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to track those to see if there's other big companies that move to Google's platform to, you know, get a handshake on some other deal from Google on another side. I don't know
Yeah.
what that would look like, but
Yeah. That's interesting. That's interesting.
something to watch.
Something to watch for sure. So, and this is this was the this is an airplane that can fly itself right now, and this was CNET covering it. X-wing and autonomous plane. I don't want to get into it though because I talk about it all the time. But autonomy is coming to aviation. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's funny. It almost seems like it's moving faster there than in the cars, right?
Well, yeah, my dad and I talk about that. Not a lot of crossing traffic in the sky compared to city streets.
Yep, it's all highway in the sky, right?
Yeah. All right. I am your co-host, Eric Buhrendorf with EVERNET Consulting. Every week on Tuesday mornings, Brian and I talk about anything we want and all things finance and technology. And Brian is my co-host, Brian Williams of Northshire Consulting. Anything else for the good of the order?
No, I think that's it. If you're in Connecticut, get your retirement plan started. Don't wait until the deadline and be scrambling for that. And I think that's it.
Sounds good. All right. Another one's in the can, buddy. I'll see you next week.
All right. See ya.